Good evening, everybody. Welcome. Very exciting day for the Cleveland Cavaliers. We've added a new member to our family, Anthony Parker. Anthony comes to us as a free agent from Toronto. Veteran NBA player. We're just figuring it out. Six NBA seasons. Euroleague, MVP. I think the best way to sum him up is winner. So we're extremely happy to have him here. I think he's going to fit in extremely well with what we do. He's a very dynamic player and, most importantly, great person. So, Anthony Parker. Congratulations. Thank you very much. We'll just take a little photo. There we go. You go now, I think.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, I just want to say how excited I am to be here today. To be a Cleveland Cavalier right now, it's extremely, extremely exciting. Didn't think I'd ever have this opportunity because just a couple years ago I was overseas. So thanks to Henry Thomas, my agent, the Cleveland Cavalier staff, Mr. Blanks, Mr. Ferry, and everybody else that's made this day possible. So just real excited and looking forward to getting started.
Anthony, we all know about your stroke, which obviously precedes you, but could you talk to us about your abilities as a defender and what you bring to the table?
That might be a question for some other people. I think I can defend. I'm definitely not I wouldn't consider myself a lockdown defender. I don't know that there are too many lockdown defenders in this league. But I think my strength is just, team defense, being at the right place at the right time. And certainly with the type of defensive team here in Cleveland, I think I'd fit right in. It makes everybody's job a lot easier when everybody's on the same page. And, they proved that last year that they're a very good defensive team, and so I'm looking forward to fitting in with that philosophy.
Anthony, what made Cleveland the right spot for you at this point in your career?
Well, number one, for me, it's always been about who really saw me fitting in with what they were trying to do. And from the beginning, during this process, Cleveland has been that team from the beginning that showed the most interest, that pursued me the hardest, and that really had a place for me, and they saw a vision of me fitting in with what they were trying to do. And it just so happened that they're a team that's contending, which is even better. The type of organization they are, the type of people in the organization, or the coaching staff and the players, and so it was just a fit, all the way through.
Anthony, on just general speaking terms, can you talk about just the whole experience of playing overseas and how big of a part or how much of a part it plays in you being where you are right here today in this point?
I love talking to people about my overseas experience. Up to this point, it's been my best basketball experience. I was fortunate to play on 3 EuroLeague championship teams and had some great times. And, I went over there, obviously, with the intention of trying to get back to the NBA as soon as possible. But once I got over there, it was just a great, great experience. We had great support in Israel. And it's really given me an opportunity to develop as a player. Did I ever think that I'd be back in the NBA? I wasn't so sure. But I was happy with where I was, and if the NBA ever became a possibility, that I would certainly jump at it. And God has blessed me, and here I am today.
Could maybe both of you talk about, as I understand, you've kind of been interested in each other for several years, and so obviously this is kind of the end of a long courtship, as it were. Can you talk about that, how that all played into signing Anthony this time around?
We had begun looking at Anthony some time ago. As Anthony mentioned, he had a lot of success overseas and in EuroLeague play, and actually went over 3-4 years ago and spent time with him, saw him play a game, and at the time it just made sense because of the kind of person he is, for one, and certainly the kind of player. One of the things we look for a lot, as Anthony alluded to, is fit. And not only the person, but the player really, we felt, fit well. And we've just watched him ever since, all the way from leaving Maccabi and coming over and playing in Toronto. And we knew the clock was ticking. Sorry, Anthony. And we were just hopeful that we'd have another chance or another crack at getting him. And fortunately, he became free, and we went after him extremely hard during this free agency period, just because we felt like he fit a lot of the things that we need now, organizationally.
Was that you that went to see him?
I was one of a group that, we try to obviously get as many eyes as we can on people. So there are other parts of our staff, scouting and otherwise, front office staff, who have seen him over the years. And I was one of that group who got to see him.
Anthony, your sister, of course, is, I think, 11 years younger than you. She's a big star. Your dad was a great college star. Could you talk about your dad?
Sister, yes. Dad.
Okay, he played. But anyway, okay. But, was it just a huge part of the family? Is that just, basketball was in your blood from the beginning?
Well, I was born when my dad was still in college. I think it was going into his senior year or something. And even after he had finished college, he continued to play. And at the beginning, it was just a son trying to be like his dad. And, at some point, I developed a love of playing, and my brother after me. And so when my sister came, it was only natural that she'd pick up a ball and start to play also. So, yeah, it became kind of a family thing, something that you weren't forced into doing, but it just seemed natural to do, and at some point you develop a love for it.
Anthony, you, of course, played again with an all-star, Chris Bosh, in Toronto. What are your thoughts on playing with two superstars and an all-star in Mo Williams? How do you fit in with something like that?
It's very easy. Very easy to fit in. I think when you have players like Shaq, like LeBron, like Mo Williams, it makes everybody else's job a lot easier, especially for a player like me. I benefit from other players demanding a lot of attention, and so I think that's one of the ways that I can fit in with this team.
Anthony, I think you started 71 games last year for Toronto. Would you be comfortable coming off the bench with the Cavs?
For sure. I think if you play this game long enough, at some point, unless you're just one of those special players, at some point you're going to have to play one of those roles. And it's something that early in my career, I would have been happy to come off the bench. My first 3 years in the NBA, and so I'm certainly, it's not going to be too hard to adjust to that role.
Anthony, back in the back again. Because of the 5 years you spent with Maccabi, not a heavy NBA kind of grind, does that maybe put or allow maybe more miles on the tires at this stage of your basketball life?
I think the opposite. I think, I don't have, one of the benefits of going overseas is I don't have that heavy 82-game plus schedule to deal with. And, God has blessed me with parents with good genes, and people call me a young 34. I feel like I'm kind of on par with somebody that's 29, 30 in the NBA. And physically, I feel great. The only time I've had any problems health-wise is just sprained ankles and things like that. So I still feel good, and we'll see what happens.
Anybody else?
Do you ever play horse with Candace or shoot around with her, and who wins those games?
Okay, if you've seen my sister play, you know she's not a shooter. She's a very versatile player that can do a whole lot of things. She's not a specialist shooting-wise. So, but we don't play a whole lot of one-on-one. We goof around, and it's actually nowadays it's very rare that we even get to be on the court at the same time because our seasons are kind of opposite. But she's definitely a great player. She got all the positive genes in the family. Like if I had her genes as a guy, I'd probably be, LeBron in the other room. But I didn't, so I was the Danny DeVito of the of the family.
All right. On that note. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.